Yeah, so Hansel and Gretel's a really fucked up story. Stepmothers who abandon children to avoid starvation, cannibalistic witches, and such good fun. Where to begin? I don't want to spoil it too much. Once upon a time, there was a woodcutter. He had a wife, a second wife, probably. Originally, it was his wife. Later, it becomes his second wife. Regardless, it's his wife. And 2 children. A son named Hansel and his sister Gretel. Originally, the woman is their mother. Later on, she becomes their stepmother. So today we introduce stepmothers. A common trope in fairy tales. One day, a great famine hits the town, city, village, place. The woodcutter and his wife sit down to discuss what they are to do. And the stepmother says, "Look, man, we don't have a choice. We only have enough bread for 2. We must take the children into the woods where they cannot find their way home. Build them a fire and leave them to fend for themselves." The woodcutter's like, "I cannot abandon my children in the woods. Obviously, because they're my children." And she's like, "Well, what other option do you have? Like, do they have only enough bread each day for 2 people? Because if they only have enough bread for 2 people anyway, they're just going to starve tomorrow. So it's not going to help anyone that much." I think I overthink these things a little too much sometimes. Regardless of the reasoning exactly, finally the woodcutter is like, "Fine. We are starving. I guess they would be better off fending for themselves in the woods with the wolves that I've already told you will probably eat them. But what else can we do?" And the children, who were also up late because they were starving and couldn't sleep, heard all this and they were like, "Hansel, what will we do?" And Hansel was like, "Don't fret, Gretel. God is with us." I feel like that's it because it sounded really morbid. God is with us. God will. Something to do with God that sounds morbid. Regardless, he's like, "We'll be good. Everything's cool. Don't worry about it. I got you." He's a really good protective big brother. So she falls asleep and he goes out into the yard where the little white pebbles glisten in the moonlight. And he grabs a bunch of pebbles and he puts them in his pockets. And he goes back upstairs and he goes to sleep. And the next day, the woman comes in and she was like, "Get up, you lazy bones. Let's go." Something like that. Oh, and they had 1 piece of bread to share for dinner. They get up and they go on a walk, and while they're on the walk, Hansel keeps looking back at the house and dropping a pebble. And the stepmom's like, "What are you looking at? Stop stopping, let's go." And he was like, "I saw my cat on the roof. She wanted to say goodbye to me." She's like, "It's not your cat. It's the sun shining off the chimney pipe. Let's go." And he continues to walk on, and he drops pebbles all the way into the woods. They stop, and she's like, "All right, let's make a fire." And they get a bunch of brush and twigs and junk and make a fire. And she's like, "You stay here. I'm going to find your father, who is cutting wood. We will fetch you later." And she leaves. And of course she doesn't return because that was the whole point. And eventually they get scared and it's dark. And Gretel's like, "Hansel, I'm scared. What are we gonna do?" And Hansel is trying really hard to stay brave for his little sister because he's so cool. And he's like, "Don't worry, Gretel. We will wait for the moon to shine and then we will be fine. God is taking care of us, or something. And also, apparently, the God part came in later, which is, typical. So they wait till the moon is up, and of course they see the pebbles glowing, and they follow them home. And they get home, and the stepmom answers the door, and she was like, "You naughty children. We thought you were never coming home. Where have you been?" She's cool. They come in, and the woodcutter's kind of playing it off, but he's really excited his kids are back because he didn't actually want to get rid of them. And I guess, again, like in the original, it was a little more mutual that they both... Oh, I see what happened. Because over time, of course they added God, that's not surprising, but also over time, they decided to start villainizing women. Stepmom. Oh, society. Anyway, they get back, and the woodcutter's really happy to see his children. Everything goes back to normal until, once again, hard times hit. And the stepmother and the father stay up all night, and they're like, "What are we gonna do? We only have a loaf of bread. It's only enough for 2, even though they still give them bread for that day. We need to abandon the children deeper in the woods so they can't find their way out." And the man's like, "But my children, please don't abandon them in the woods. I really don't want to do that, but he's clearly a pushover because he did it the other time. So obviously he just doesn't really care that much. So he caves again, like he did before. And they agree, and children, of course, are awake, and they overhear it, and they're like, "Oh my God, what will we do this time?" And Hansel is like, "Done this before, I can do this again. Don't worry, Gretel, I got you." And Gretel goes to sleep, and Hansel goes to get some pebbles, and the door is locked, and he can't get pebbles, so he goes back to bed. And the next morning, they're given the little pieces of bread and told, "Let's go, it's time to go." And Hansel, having nothing else to use, takes the piece of bread and leaves breadcrumbs on his way, as is typically known of this story. And same thing, he kind of stops and looks back, drops some breadcrumbs. And the stepmom's like, "Why do you keep stopping and looking back? Let's go." And he's like, "A pigeon is on the roof. He wants to say goodbye to me." And she says, "That is not your pigeon. That is the sun shining on the..." whatever the fuck I said last time. Chimney thing. He keeps dropping crumbs anyway, like before. And they go even deeper into the woods, deeper than they've ever been in their whole lives. And she says, "Let's make a fire. Go get some kindling." And they bring the kindling and the twigs and junk, and they build a fire. And the stepmom again says, "You stay here. I will go find your father. He is chopping wood. Feel free to take a nap. We'll come back and get you." And of course they fall asleep, and they wake up when it's really dark. And Gretel's like, "Brother, what will we do? How will we get home?" And Hansel's like, "Don't worry. I'll take care of you. I got this." They go to sleep, and they wake up when the moon is shining. And they go to look for their trail, but there isn't one because all the birds ate it. Gretel says, "Brother, what will we do?" And Hansel says, Don't worry, we'll figure it out. We'll just find the way home. We don't need the trail. They start wandering and wandering and wandering and wandering. Wandering and wandering and wandering and wandering and wandering and wandering and wandering until the night is past and another day is past and they're into another night and they're so hungry and exhausted and they can't go on and they still haven't found their home. And they see a white bird and they start to follow the white bird because after a day and a half, why the fuck not? And they follow the white bird until they find a gingerbread house. And they come across this gingerbread house and they're starving. They're like, this doesn't belong to anyone, right? I don't even think they actually bothered to care if it belonged to anyone. They were starving. The house is made of food. Who could blame them? Maybe. Never mind, we'll get to that later. Hansel's like, I'll eat the doors. Oh yeah, it was called barley sugar. You eat the barley sugar windows. And it's covered in candies and confectionaries. Some chef is laughing a lot at me right now. Confectionaries. Stuff like that. Cake stuff and candies and sweet stuff. And good food, and mainly gingerbread. And Hansel's like, I'll eat the gingerbread and you eat the barley sugar windows. She's like, I'll eat the door, thanks, I'm hungry. And so they start eating it, and they hear someone say, who is eating my house? Excuse me? You're eating my house. You didn't even ask. Well, who's eating my house? And they're like, woo, woo, it's the wind, woo, woo. It's the wind. And they're like, and they keep eating. They just pretend like it didn't even happen. They're hungry. And the woman's like, excuse me, children, why are you eating my house? Please come inside. Please come inside. Come inside. You will be safe with me. No harm shall come to you. Come inside. I have cakes and candies. I will feed you pancakes and goodies and all the things you want. Treats and fun stuff. Candy. Cakes. Cookies. Whatever you like. Come inside. Please. Please. Red. Don't eat my house. Just come inside. Okay, good. Come inside. And she fed them cakes and candies and pancakes. Put them to sleep in a nice bed. And in the morning she was like, wake the fuck up. So what we're gonna do now, this is how it's gonna be. You, in the cage. You. Feed him. Just feed him. I'm gonna make food, you feed him. Don't feed him? That's right. Feed him. Because one day, he's gonna be my dinner. And she fed him. She fed him a lot. She didn't feed the girl. She gave her a crab claw. Here, eat that. So, this went on for a while and she would test him. She got him in a cage, like in the movies. One of those like hanging bird cages. little boy, and his like foot's dangling out, and he's like got one arm. It's really cramped. She's all like, show me your finger so I can see how fat you are. He gets out. I wish I had a bone. She's like holding a bone because she can't quite see. She's like, oh, you're so skinny. We should fatten you more. And this goes on for a while. She gives him more and more food, trying to fatten him up over the course of like 3 weeks or something, I don't know. After a few weeks, she comes in to do her test. She's like, put out your finger so I can see if you've fattened up yet. And he sticks out his bone. She's like, fucking Christ, do you not gain weight? Why? Just forget it. I'll just eat you how you are. Gretel, fill that with water so I can boil your brother, or I'll kill you. So Gretel fills it with water. And meanwhile, the witch makes some bread in the oven. While the water's boiling, Gretel comes over to the oven, and the witch is like, oh, forget it. Since Hansel didn't gain any weight, and I am really hungry, I will just bake little Gretel as well. Hey Gretel, come here. I was gonna make this bread. Can you make sure that the oven is hot? Stick your head in. See if the oven's hot enough. Gretel's like, I know your games, fool. She just thinks it. I'm not falling for that. She's like, stick what in? How? I don't think I'll fit. Are you sure? I just don't think it's big enough. She's like, you fool! Even I can stick my head in, and I'm much larger than you. Watch! And she sticks her head in the oven. Gretel suddenly gets an extreme amount of strength for some reason or other, and shoves the witch into the oven and closes it and clasps it shut. And the witch screams and cries and is like, help me, I'm burning alive. Except no one can hear her because the door's closed and she's stuck. Gretel runs to Hansel's cage and releases him, and she's like, we're free, brother, we're free. And before they leave, they get some cakes and candies, and they find this trunk, and in the trunk is jewels and gold and silver and all the great things in the world. And they fill their blouse and their pockets with all the gold and silver, and they run home. It takes a while, and they're walking through the woods, and they hit water, and they're like, we can't cross water. What will we do? And Gretel's like, I think I see a boat. And Hansel's like, you idiot, that's not a boat, it's a swan. Or in the one I read, a duck, which makes absolutely no sense. And they're like, hey, swan, can you get us across? For there is no bridge, and you are not a boat. Stupid. And the swan's like, yeah, I guess, whatever, man. One of them gets on the swan, and then the other one tries to get on. They're like, we can't both go at the same time. Let's just go one at a time. So the swan takes Gretel across, and then comes back and takes Hansel across. And then they just go home. And when they get home, they find their father, and they find out that their stepmother has died. And they just live happily with all their money. And gold. And pearls. There was pearls. And that's the end. And they live happily ever after. And I don't know why I keep picking relatively happy ending stories, because actually most of them aren't. I'm going to find a not happy ending for you next time. And, oh yeah, there's a lot of theories about, of course, that the stepmom and the witch were the same person. That's why they died roughly about the same time. The lesson is like, don't eat another person's house. Don't trust your stepmom. Breadcrumbs are not good trail leaving devices because birds will eat them. Don't trust little old women who live in houses made of food in the woods. And just don't, just be careful. My name is Bear, and that was Hansel and Gretel. Thanks for watching. I love you all dearly. I hope you all return next week when I have a less happy ending for you. And Nick. I think that one was bad. And Nick. Should I do something besides Nick? Like, look at you guys? That'd be awkward. Which is the voice that I am meant to hear? How will I know? Where will I go from here?